Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, and the USO. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. So today we're going to go right to the 60-minute before we follow the daily, weekly, monthly. And I just want to talk about today's action. So we talked about the 200 MA. We came right up in here and got to the gap window. And then it started pulling back. Never confirmed above the 200 moving average. And then boom, right down on the news of DB. Right through the 618, right through all. I mean, there was support. This thing just cranked right through here. Got to the 750 retrace. Look at that. 2142. And I think it got to 2140. Bounces up, comes back in, goes back down, hits this lower trend line. I mean, guys, look at this. Tech bottom pivot. I mean, almost to the penny, pushes it up. Right back in the resistance, 618, it comes right back down. So great action today, up, down. But as you can tell, what I say, market trade, this thing was dumping. What was everything else doing? Dumping. This thing gaps down tomorrow and gets going. This is your line in the sand at this point, this lower trend line here. If this cracks through here, you got this pivot right around 213.61. And let's go to the 10-minute here. Let's get some a little bit better action here. So let's take this out. This is another chart. This is some work that I did yesterday. But 213.40, you have a pivot around 213, 212.64. Yeah, that's going to be the big area, 212.64, then ultimately right in here around 212 or so. Let's see. You know what? Let's stick something else in here. This isn't my official chart. You know what? I'm not even going to do anything on here. But anyways, what crazy action. I mean, came back in. Bounced up, consolidated. We talked about this bearish pattern. Not the best. We had a little tail here, but chopping. Then boom, they dropped it twice right into the trend line. Bounced up, came into these moving averages as well, just like the moving averages in here. Then pulled, never could get above that. That's some big resistance here on the intraday and 60-minute chart. Well, let's go right to the daily. We talked about this as well in our last couple of videos. 2 days up, 2 days down, 2 days up. Do we get a sell-off on Thursday, Friday? Possibly. We are holding this trend line down here. Let's see if we could gap below it and keep this train rolling. 214 or so. That's the 750 retrace. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. But if we crack below this trend line and this thing keeps going, then I think we could go right back here to double bottom. If it cracks below this green line, then we still have support down here. We have that trend line coming from those pivots. We have the gap fill down in here, and then this lower pivot on the gap window. So 210.76 or so, but let's take this one step at a time. We're still on an inside bar pattern. They never confirmed it above this red bar. Came right back in, chopped around, like I said. 1, 2, 3, and boom, crash. No, not that it's going to do that, but you never know. Weekly chart. Weekly still. Bearish consolidation, inside bar. 3 weeks now consolidation. I would love to see a couple more before it comes in, but who knows? Anything can happen. If you're a bull, you need to get above this red bar and close, or let's just say the 219.60 area. If you're a bear, you need to close below this big red bar, below the 20 MA, and let's try to get below this 382 around 211.69 on a weekly close. I don't think it's going to do it tomorrow, but at this point with DB, the news, anything's possible, guys. So just be careful. They can dump this thing right out of the chute. And then the rest of the day just downside confirmation, and this thing just tanks. So just be careful. Remember, it's always the staircase up and the elevator down. So right now we're at the bottom of this doji candle again. If we get a little more selling, we might actually close below that candle, and that will be slightly bearish. So just be careful in these markets if you are long. You're going to wake up to a 500 gap down day, and this thing just wrenches on you. Still kind of buy the dip mentality. We'll probably get a bounce here and there. But we're almost due to the point where this thing might not bounce, where it just keeps going. And people buy the dip, margin call, sell, and then the selling exaggerates to the point where you'll get some exhaustion selling, and then we'll get the reversal. Anyways, so IWM, let's get into that one. Again, lagging indicator, you know, going right into that same area again, that 125 area. You can see it better on the weekly. But came back in, pulled back, inside bar, nice reversal, closed below the 20 MA. Actually, you know what? Let me get rid of all this garbage. Let me just stick in a couple features in here. Let's stick a fib from here to here. Let's just keep it simple, guys. Right there. So we're at the 750 retraced it. We did close below the 20 MA, but man, what a reversal from a higher point over here yesterday. Boom. Engulfed this whole candle. That's telling me, guys, we want lower. We're going to get lower prices in this one. We might chop around again and then get lower prices, but I wouldn't doubt if we gap below these areas here, because that's pretty good support and they don't want to deal with it. We come down in here and fill this gap right around 120, 186. But like I said, we're going to take this one day at a time. I have no idea what they're going to do, but if they don't want to deal with this support, they're going to gap it below and keep this thing going. If they if they want to bounce it, they're going to try to gap it up above this green line, 123.58, and try to keep this thing going. But right now, that was a pretty ugly reversal today, guys. Weekly chart. We've talked about the 123.57. That was the area. We got above it, cranked down, got above it. We're below it. That's going to be the line in the sand, it looks like, at this point. We had the nice inside bar. They retraced it to the top, never closed above, and here we go. We're starting to go down. Now we have an inside bar bearish pattern, inside bar bearish pattern developing as well. So at this point, you're still looking, you're still above the MA, so technically you're in a bullish stance, but man, it just can't get going. Come on. This BS, just steady float is just on no volume, it's ready to go, guys. Come on, it's almost there, and now it's just a matter of now they're just buying time. And here it is again, 123.43 on the monthly. If we close below it, I think we're slightly bearish. But again, we have tomorrow until the close on the weekly and the monthly. It's going to be interesting what they do with these markets tomorrow with that news on Deutsche Bank. I thought everything was fixed, man. They had all this stuff going, Don't listen to the news, guys. Turn that crap off. Follow the charts. Daily chart on the Qs. We did have same thing. They pushed it up, right down, pushed it up, came right back in. We did hit almost at the 20 MA and they bounced it up. This one was only down 0.72% today, so it was the strongest one of all the indexes, but not a great showing. It was still down almost 50 on the Nasdaq. So, but again, they brought it up above the 750 retrace. Let's see if they can hold it up over this area, or do we gap down and this thing starts to fall. Weekly chart. Weekly chart, it's not bad. I mean, we had this big reversal engulfing candle. They tried this. They needed to keep this thing going and close above the highs. It got rejected, came in, a little bit of a doji here. Let's see what happens on the close. If this thing closes for whatever reason below this low here, 116.61. I mean, it's only about $1.20, $1.30 away. But man, if that closes below, and I'm a little more bearish on this because that's a nice reversal. I'd like to see some follow through, and it looks like we're not going to get it. But at this point, I mean, we could wake up to a 300 gap up. Deutsche Bank's fixed. Europe's Draghi's gonna keep printing money and doing stimulus until the end of time. And everything's gonna be great. Don't worry, we got it. Monthly chart again. It looks like we're not going to close above this bar, so let's see where we close. Do we come back in and do a little doji here, and possibly we get a reversal in October? So we're going to keep an eye on these really, really close. We got the weekly and the monthly close tomorrow, so we can reevaluate these and see where these things could possibly go. The DIA, that was down 1.03%, and almost looks like the SPY. I mean, chopping around. They got it above, came right in, 2 days up, 1 day down. Now we're below the MAs again, and now we're halfway in between, these low pivots and this high pivot, or if you want to play it off that. But here we go. We're getting some support down in here from the 382. If this thing cracks tomorrow, I think we'll go to double bottom, which is 179.92, 180. If that cracks, guys, here comes 175.90 and possibly lower. This is some pretty good consolidation. It is choppy, sloppy, but it's in an inside bar, bearish pattern. If this thing starts playing out, look out below. Weekly chart, same thing, inside bar. Gosh, it's going to be interesting. We need to stay above this 20 MA if you want to stay in a bullish stance. If it slightly closes below it, oh man, I'd still like to see more consolidation in this, but if this thing starts to fall, it's not going to be as brutal as if it were to go sideways for 7-8 weeks. But at this point, the markets can do whatever they want, and we're just due for a really, really good sell-off, in my opinion, of course. Let's stick this in there. I don't like these up. Yeah, I don't even like that. It's just upsloping too much. I like something like this, a little more gradual. But weekly chart, let's see where we close tomorrow. Monthly as well. Look at that. Monthly came right in. So we're going to know more tomorrow. So I could say it's going up or down. We'll wait for the close, and then we'll talk about the monthly tomorrow. Let's look at the IYT on the daily. Let's go to the daily chart. Same thing. You know what? We pushed up. We came back in. We pushed up. Came back in. Where's that trend line come from? Yeah, that was an old trend line. But let me tell you, look at that. That thing's holding on. Gets above it, gets below it, gets right into it, gets below it. We're at the high of this candle as well. Still having problems. Whoever was a buyer up here, before they dumped it out in their face, they're all like, you know what? I don't trust these markets. I'm just going to. They gave one chance to get out, brought it back, another chance to get out. And then the guys who bought up here who pulled it back and came back up, oh, man. At that point, just get me out of this thing. If you don't know what you're doing in these markets, you better be careful. Weekly chart. Same thing, great bullish consolidation. Let's see if this thing can go. It needs to stay above these MAs, and I keep saying these MAs are getting closer and closer for a nice gap down and keep this thing going. If this thing doesn't start taking off soon, it's going to take the path of least resistance. If it can't push through, it's just going to push down, period. So we'll see where tomorrow's close is. It looks like they're going to keep it above the MAs. But honestly, you don't know. It could be a nasty sell-off like 2-3 Fridays ago or whenever that sell-off was. Monthly chart, we're going to see what the close is, then we'll talk about it. But again, IWM, IYT, lagging. You don't realize that by now. Every video I tell you that. So let's look at the USO. Wrong one. So the USO, everyone's getting all bullish and giddy, and OPEC's doing this and OPEC's doing that. You know, honestly, here's your line in the sand right here. So with the retrace, you're back into the 750 because we've been overshooting the 618. You're into this big pivot here, 750, even number of 11, and a trend line. And boom, right up into it, pulled right back. It needs to get over this. If it gets over this and confirms, then I think we could go to gap fill right around 1134 or the high pivot around 1140 or so. Okay? If it does not get above this area and starts to come in, we're going to go straight back down. I'm going to stick this one in here too. Here's another trend line. So you're going to have some support down in here. You got a lot of support coming down. You got the MAs, you got the 618, you got the 750, you got a couple pivots here. But ultimately, if this thing comes back down, you're looking at 10 bucks again. It'll probably bounce again, move up again, and then this pennant pattern is going to get tighter and tighter, and then it's going to figure out which way do I want to go. Weekly chart. This was the other reason. We went short. We added to the US. Well, we covered the USO down in here. I think it was 1022. Popped back up. We added short again right at 1086, I believe it was. But this is the reason why, guys. Come on. You got the 20 MA and the 50 MA here too. On the weekly, though, here's that trend line I was talking about. So we're a little bit above it. Let's see where it closes tomorrow. But man, you have a ton of resistance here. This thing needs to have more news or something to push it up, because that's the only way these stocks are moving up are on news. Everything right now, it's whether it's an upgrade or a buyback or just news that the company's getting bought out or whatever. That's the only reason these things are moving up. It's pretty crazy. But again, when the SPY, the IWM, the Qs start to dump, it's going to be over, guys. Over. Inside bar, bearish pattern. They need to get it above this 1161, 62 area, the red bar here, before it even thinks about going up. And now you still have a lot of resistance up here. If it gets up into here around 1384, 14, you short that with both hands. But at this point, one day at a time, let's see what the markets give us tomorrow, and then we'll figure out which way these things will go. Again, guys, thanks for watching my videos. God bless. See you on the charts.